Welcome to the Referrals Podcast, the show designed to help everyone from the solopreneur to the Fortune 500 company win the referral game. If you want to build a company with an army of ambassadors and raving fans who speak highly of you and refer you willingly, you are in the right place. And now, here is your host, Michael J. Maher.
Welcome, everyone. It is Michael J. Maher with another episode of Referrals Podcast. If you've made it all the way to episode 211 and you've started in the beginning, holy cow, congratulations. And if you are brand new, welcome to the Referrals Podcast. We love having you here. We have a very special guest with a very special story today. I cannot wait to bring it to you, but you're going to have to wait a second because I have to give a shout out to Jeff Lutzinger with eXp of California. He said, I've been in real estate for 15 years. I bought 7L and read it quickly and then started listening to the Referrals Podcast. That's this, by the way. And I've gotten so much out of them. I did a pie shop event at a local wine and cheese bar just before Thanksgiving last year and got great feedback. Doing it again this year. Living in California with all the restrictions due to COVID, I haven't been able to do them, but reaching out to people on the phone and sending notes as described in Referrals Podcast has made a lot of people happy, including myself. 7L, Referco, and Referrals Podcast have made a very positive impact in my life. Thank you. Well, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that very much. And thanks for writing it. That's a 5-star review that we got on that. So those of you that have listened to Referrals Podcast, if you would do a review or rate it, we would really, really appreciate that. People do read the reviews. They do look at the ratings and determine whether they want to listen to it or not. So thank you, everybody, for doing that. Call to action is, listen, it's Referral Mastery Academy. We are actually launching something that is brand new to the industry, Referral Mastery Academy. You're going to be able to browse our referral library for free, take an on-demand course if you want, or you can register for one of our awesome upcoming live classes, or you can just join the academy, referralmasteryacademy.com. Check it out. You're going to love it. And you're going to hear from this young lady when you do, because she is going to be featured within Referral Mastery Academy. Today's guest is Cynthia Yosha-Snyder. Cynthia is a lifetime resident and realtor of Indianapolis, Indiana, and has been selling real estate for 11 years. She was named Realtor of the Year in 2018 for Hamilton County. Cynthia is also one of our elite trainers in our CRT program, Certified Referral Trainer program. She took the class in 2020 and was a featured speaker at was a featured speaker at RMS 2021. Besides her title of Realtor and CRT, she is also known as a wife to Roger for 31 years and the mom to Olivia, Louie, and Ruthie, and dog mom to Ella and Minnie. Welcome to Referrals Podcast, Cynthia.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm honored to be here.
Well, it's so good for you to be here and so good to see you again. And, you know, what I want to do is I want to start in the beginning when you got your real estate license. What we're going to share today is really like your journey. And a lot of the people that are listening either haven't started this journey or they're maybe a little earlier on the journey than you are. And they kind of like, they need to know what's ahead for them. And they need to be confident. You know, there's a difference between hope and faith. You know, hope waits and faith acts. And they need to have faith in, you know what, when I take that step, it's going to be the right step. So I really want to kind of hone in on your journey in a chronological fashion so we can just kind of go through the journey together. So you got into business 11 years ago, and what got you into the real estate business?
So interesting story, Michael. I am a volunteer. I've been a volunteer my entire life. My parents taught me how to volunteer, and I never knew how to stop. And so I was chairing an event that took me about 4 or 5 months to do at one of my kids' schools. And it ended the event was on a Sunday. My girlfriend was taking the real estate class that started on a Monday. Normal people would say, I've worked so hard the last several months. I'm going to stay home. I'm going to eat bonbons. and I'm going to hang out. And I panicked. I literally panicked. What am I going to do the day after? And it was kind of that last volunteer thing. Like I'd done everything else. I'd been PTO president. There was really nothing left for me to do. I was honored to be able to stay home with my kids for all those years to raise them. And my youngest was in elementary school at the time. My oldest was in high school. And I chaired this event at the high school. I asked my friend, do you care if I take the real estate class with you? Thinking nothing beyond the 3 weeks that the class was. And she said, sure. So she ended up bailing on me. I ended up still taking the class, thinking I was never going to do anything with it. You get all those phone calls while you're taking the class. Please come talk to us, all these different brokerages. So I thought, I'll go talk to a couple, see what's going on. So I chatted with the brokerage that I'm in currently, and I chatted with another national brokerage, and because they were both around the corner from my house. Yeah. And I said to them, I'm going to start part-time. And they said, nobody does successful part-time real estate. Mm-hmm. And I came home, talked to my husband. I said, I'm going to give it a shot for a year. Took me 11 months to sell something. So if you think back about what was going on in 2010, wasn't such a great economy.
Toughest time to start.
Lots of foreclosures. Yep. And so that's my journey. I did it. It took me 11 months to sell something, and I broke records every year thereafter and haven't stopped.
Well, so that's where I want to go next is all right. So, I said it was the toughest time to start in 2010, but I would also say in a lot of cases, the best time to start in real estate would have been 2008, 2009, or 2010, because it was the toughest time. If you could survive those times, you're going to be able to survive any time, hopefully, right? I
Completely agree.
Just think about the 11 years that you've seen with the 2010 Great Recession, if you will, and then the recent COVID and everything with the quarantine. So, all right, so like the next year. You had a full year of real estate. And so what did you do that year? Like, what did you do in 2011, 2012, 2013? What was the rise in transactions and business that you were doing?
So every year I did better than the year before, usually by about $1 million. So, and I connected with people. I did all the things that you do in the beginning. I held open houses in the areas that I knew my people, my sphere would drive by. I didn't care that they didn't understand that it wasn't my listing.
Right.
I just wanted them to see my signs. And my managers actually used to say to me, Cynthia, you shouldn't hold that house open. It's been held open so many times. I said, I have one reason that I'm holding that house open. So people drive by and they see my topper on top of my sign. That's it. I don't care if one person walks into the open house. I just want them to see my sign.
Yeah.
And so then they changed their perspective totally. It wasn't about the people who were going to walk in the house. It was letting people know this is the business I'm in.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So every year you're growing by $1 million. You're growing by $1 million. And then 2020 hits. Right. Yes. So March 13th, the lockdown is instituted and the world has changed. Right. So what was your reaction to, give me like right before the lockdown? What was your life just prior to lockdown? What was going on? And did you think there was anything wrong at that time? And then take me right in and through March 13th.
Okay. So I had already that year, I had a decent number of buyers and sellers already in the pipeline, already things listed, things like that. So just chugging along here that, hey, we're going to close down, maybe we'll close down for a couple of weeks. And my mom had not been feeling well and had been going to several doctor's appointments and trying to figure out what was going on with her. So I don't remember exactly the date, but right around the 13th, she was diagnosed with metastatic breast cancer. So I'm chugging along business-wise, but then also personal-wise, wanting to be with her and helping her through everything. And so balancing all of that, Indiana, our governor did a great job of maintaining real estate as essential. And so as long as we followed the rules, as long as we did the things that that our association and he agreed upon, that he was going to keep real estate essential. So we were able to still do business, still do things, and really didn't slow down necessarily as anything. We completely escalated here. And we just wore masks and had a lot of hand sanitizer around. So my mom was diagnosed, and so we started wanting to care for her more. She really wasn't, she was fine at that point, but wanting to be there for her, make certain she was not a big eater, making certain that she ate while she took her medication. So her sister and my sister and I split up the whole day. So every day I went to my mom's at 6 a.m. and I stayed until 11 a.m. And every day I shared time with her. She would nap during that time, but we shared time. And even if we were just sitting in silence, we were there. But then I don't remember from March 13th until the day you started the daily dose, but the daily dose was my everyday addiction. And it gave me that link to the real estate world when I couldn't go into my office. When I set up my home office, my kids and I and my husband, we painted my office, we organized my office here, and I set everything up. So business-wise, it kind of stayed the same, but I wasn't necessarily building my business. It was the first year in my career that I didn't sell as much as I did the year before. But as I look back, it was okay. I had good reasons for it. And now I've already sold more than my best year ever.
So, first of all, sorry to hear about your mom and on your mom. What was the best advice your mom ever gave you?
Wow. So because I've already told you that I'm a sick volunteer, she told me to learn how to say the word no.
And you haven't. You haven't. Oh my God. Isn't that funny how it's amazing how we don't take our parents' advice. And then like 30 years later, we're like, oh my gosh, my parents were so smart.
It's so smart.
so good smart advice. So that's interesting. So, and I want to kind of go back to the daily dose for those of you that are newer to the Referrals podcast. What happened is March 13th was a lockdown. I had literally like 40 speaking engagements that were planned for the rest of 2020. The most immediate ones for March, April, May, and June were basically postponed / canceled. And it was like there was so much confusion in the marketplace. No, like the world has changed. I mean, it's an outbreak. We had not had a viral outbreak since 1918, 1919. So, so I thought this is the time for me to stand up. And so I stood up and said, listen, we're going every day with the podcast, and we're going to deliver a message of positivity and help people remain productive. And that's what it was, a daily dose of positivity and productivity. And we had some of the greatest speakers known to mankind on every day, and they were willing to volunteer their time and come on and tapped into connections and relationships that I hadn't had strengthened over several years, and it strengthened my relationship with them to make them a part of the daily dose. So that was the good on the backside. But Cynthia, you've said several times in some of our more private events and so on and so forth, our challenges, that the daily dose was really a lifeline for you that maybe you didn't even know you needed. What do you mean by that?
So the daily dose was something that I looked forward to every day. So I'm also not only a volunteer junkie, but I'm also an education junkie. And I listen to so many different coaches that are out there that are in real estate. And I was literally like a pinball. And I would bounce from one coach and I'd listen to them. And then that's a really good idea. And then I'd bounce over here and I'd listen to that coach. And then I would always have different ideas. Oh, I'm going to do that. And then I would foster it in my mind and then think about it. And then before I know it, I'm pinballing over to the other coach and coming up with a new idea. And I never really got anything done. And But you were always a coach that I admired and who spoke to me because of the relationship building, because that's all I've ever done. That's what my parents taught me to do. It's how I've built life, not my business. It's how I've built life.
That's right.
And so as the daily dose came along, it was not knowing whether or not we were really going to be in lockdown for just 2 weeks. And as 2 weeks approached, and then it was longer and longer, and then it kept escalating, and we had no idea really how long it was. But not knowing at the time that the daily dose was going to be what saved my life, I looked forward to it every day. I wanted to know what you were up to that day, and who did you get this day, and how did you do it better than the day before? Because there was always something better. There was always something there that inspired me that day. And whether I listened to you live or whether or not I listened to you while I was at the grocery or while I was walking, my family and I would walk every day. And whether I was doing that or whether I listened while my mom was taking a nap, whatever it was, I looked forward to that. And during that time, obviously not knowing what was going to happen with my mom, it was that thing that I looked forward to. Everything else, let's be honest, was the same. Mm-hmm. You woke up in the same place, you stayed in the same place all day, you ate in the same place, you saw the same people. And it was that lifeline for me to have something different.
Yeah. Wow. Well, thank you for tuning in. And you know, the other thing too that I noticed is you did a lot of that stuff. You know, you implemented a lot of what we talked about during the daily dose. And that's really what we wanted people to do is, you know, forget about the world for a little bit and focus on your business. Just if it was 5 minutes or 55 minutes, whatever you could do, because it was a great time to work on your business. And, you know, I was just talking to Josh Frazee, and he was just talking about like how that exploded. The quarantine literally exploded his business because he had to do the things that he wanted to do before, and now he had the time because he wasn't driving all over the place and that kind of thing. So, you know, so what has changed in your personal life because of what's been, you know, the kind of the follow through, right? We're fast forward a year here, you know, year and a half. And so what's that been like for you in the last, 16, 18 months?
So first of all, I will forever be grateful for 2020 and the pandemic, because if I would have continued on the path that I was on in my business, then I would never, if it hadn't have been for the pandemic, I wouldn't have slowed down enough to spend that time with my mom. And I will forever be grateful for that time because I don't get it anymore. She passed away in October. And so every moment that I was with her was a treasure that if we hadn't have gone through the pandemic, I wouldn't have taken that time. I would have taken time, but I wouldn't have spent that much time because I would have had other things that I would have needed to do. And so that helped me slow down enough, which I was on, I don't want to say I was on a hamster wheel, except that I was just constantly moving, always trying to find the next thing and putting something else together. And it allowed me to slow down enough and appreciate what I had. And I know that now that I look back on it. But more importantly, the most important thing I did, Michael, was I quit following all those other coaches except you.
Oh, wow.
And so
did not see that one coming, but that's awesome.
So I you get the email, everybody's really good at writing the tagline and the subject line in there that's going to draw me in to want me to open that email. And so I literally was spending more time in my emails than I needed to. I don't need to listen to all those coaches. I need to work in my business and I need to build relationships. And so when you brought the daily dose to me, I decided to check out get rid of all of them. I unsubscribed. I have them go into a folder that I never get into. I thought I might, so they don't even make it into my email box anymore, except yours. And I have embraced everything about it. And if only I would have embraced it back in 2011, because I bought your book back in 2011.
Yep.
And if only I would have embraced it then, I have no idea where my business would be today and how many more people I could have touched and helped and referred. But nonetheless, whenever it happens, it happens. And so I have fully embraced everything. I am the biggest fan of 30 mornings. I think it is one of the greatest things that I had taken it before the pandemic, but until the pandemic, I didn't fully embrace it. I thought, oh, when I get time, I'll do that. And I had time. So I slowed down, took 30 mornings, took Sweet Dreams, took CRT. Shortly after my mom passed away is when I did the CRT class. And 10 days after that, my husband was in the hospital, not with COVID, with another issue, and they were trying to avoid surgery. And so they had him in the hospital for 7 days, 2 weeks after my mom passed away. So here I was at home all by myself, because we're empty nesters with 2 dogs and nothing to do, except again, I had CRT class that I took every day while he was in the hospital. And so again, just those things that were solidifying that why you and Referco helped save my life last year.
Well, I don't know if we saved your life, but you saved your life. I mean, people do that sometimes. They come up to me and go, Michael, you changed my life. And it's like, no, I didn't. You changed your life. Now, maybe we created the environment or a class or a training that made that happen. But the truth is, you got to change your own life. And I think that's the biggest thing I remember Zig Ziglar. I mean, we're talking 25, 30 years ago. I'd sit there and he was just talking about, like, you can make a decision right now that'll change your life forever, you know, positively or negatively.
Sure.
And that's that you made a decision that you were going to follow one. And this is straight out of 7L. For people who haven't read 7L, go check out 7L. And when Rick signs up for coaching, spoiler alert, Rick signs up for coaching. The first thing coach says is all the other stuff you're not going to do.
That's right.
All you're going to focus on are these 7 sessions and this 7 sessions of coaching and what we're going to teach you. That was the secret to my success, Cynthia, is I didn't jump from trainer to trainer. I went to one trainer and I took all their stuff and just like I just dove as deep as possible, as much as I could. I learned everything I could from them. And then I went and focused on somebody else. And then I went and focused, and I continue to do that to this very day. And that has served me so well. It's like I'm not looking at anything else. I'm just like, I want to get the spirit. I want to get the gist. I want to get the strategy of every element of this. And that's such a powerful strategy in itself that I hope people put it in play. I think another lesson that we need to learn right here is for those of you that have mothers and fathers still living, spend your time. My mother and father are no longer here. You know, I wish I would have had more time with them, and, you know, lost my mother recently as well within the last 12 months. So it's one of those where I hope this is I mean, right now it's like, call mom, like call dad.
Please
like,
do.
Whoever's listening to this, you're listening to this for, ooh.
I know. I'm with you.
Whoever's listening to this right now, call your mom, call your dad.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they need to hear from you. And I don't care what your relationship is with them. You didn't like them. You ran away from home. You haven't talked to them since college or high school or whatever it may be. I don't care. Just give them a call and just make that connection.
The release of 7L in 2010 sparked a movement among business owners. Industry-changing Catalyst Coaching, Referrals podcast, and annual summits were created as a result. And now we're excited to introduce the Referral Mastery Academy, the online university for everyone in Gen Ched. When on the Academy campus, head over to the library, get your library card, and browse all of our free resources. Everything at the library is free. Or you can enroll as a student and have access to the library, plus all of our on-demand courses, where you can learn and implement at your own pace. Buy one course at a time. Finally, you have the option to go all in and join the Academy. Academy members get access to all of the on-demand courses, the library, and monthly live classes and challenges. Academy members pay $99 per month and have access to everything. Check it out today at referralmasteryacademy.com.
What have you implemented, right? We really, the thing that I love about Referrals podcast is we don't just tell the stories. We talk about the strategies,
Yes.
what what do we need to do to get referrals or to grow our relationships to the point of
Yes.
referrals? So what were 2 or 3 strategies that you put into play, either from the daily dose or in the last couple of
Mhm.
years, that have gotten you the most amount of referrals and the most amount of business?
So I'm going to have to back up a little bit, not take it directly toward referrals, except
Yeah.
to tell you that it is fly.
Yeah.
And I spent 56 of my years focusing on everybody else.
So
And
what is
last year,
FLY? Just so there's people
sure,
that are brand new to us. What's the
sure.
acronym FLY stand for?
First, love yourself.
Mm.
And it's not that I didn't love myself, it's that I didn't pay attention to myself. And I paid attention to everybody else. And how do I fulfill their needs? What is it that I need to do for them? How do I make my kids' world a better place to be? How do I make the world a better place to be? And so that was much more of my focus than it ever was. Well, have you eaten in the last 12 hours? Have you had a glass of water? Have you paid attention? Have you walked? Have you worked out? Have you taken silence? Any of those things. And so going back to 30 mornings, truly that taking that morning time that savers. And if you don't know what 30 mornings is, I don't know when you're having the next class, but
Yep. January.
there you go.
January.
I highly recommend it.
Yep.
I think that if any one thing were to say, and I've got my book right here. We just started with Polly and Angela, just a little get together. I've got it
Yep.
right here. I keep it right out in front of me. I've got it bound. I did all the things you told me to. Um, and I keep up on it. And it reminds me, and even if I don't get every one of my savers done, it reminds me that now focus on the one that you didn't. Focus on that silence. Focus on that visualization, whatever it might be that you get done. But it's just that reminder, that writing it down, the appreciations, the things that I see in myself, taking that time to say, I am this. I cooked last night. I am a great cook. Just those little things that remind yourself that you are a powerful, wonderful person.
Mm.
I think is the first thing. The other thing that I
All
have
right, hold a
done.
second.
Okay,
Talking
sorry.
about FLY, and there's a
Yes,
lesson there for everyone.
yes.
Is first love yourself. It's really
Mhm,
hard to build your business based on love, generosity, and appreciation
mhm,
if you don't first love yourself. And it is
mhm.
fly. To truly fly, to truly
Yep,
soar, to go to the next level, you must first love yourself. And it's one of those where it's once you love yourself, once then you start to see your own value. And
yes,
then once you see your own value, then all of a sudden other people treat you as more valuable and see your value more. And then
mhm,
what happens is you start to increase the value of you. You are the gift. You don't need
that's it.
items of value if
That's
you
it.
feel valuable. If you are
Yes,
of value, you don't need items of value or gifts or anything like that. You can just be you and it's attractive enough. And
yes,
that's a really, really powerful element to all this. And sometimes it gets glossed over with the
mm,
networking stack or the
yes,
the first and 10 or the some of the power notes. But it really is, first love yourself, take time for yourself, and take one habit and stick to it, and you will build confidence in yourself. That reminds me, what's your favorite of savers? And by the way, for people that don't know, savers is silence, appreciations, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and then scribing and or journaling. So what's your favorite out of those?
so to not answer your question, I'm gonna give you two because
Yeah,
there's
all good.
two. So my first one is going to be silence. And that's mostly because I'm a go, 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 and then fall asleep kind of girl.
Mm-hmm.
And so taking that time of silence and getting rid of anything that might enter during that time, because I'm one of those people that even if I go to yoga, I'm thinking of those 25 things that I need to do when I walk out the door.
Mm-hmm.
And so really trying to hone in on keeping your mind clear and really focusing on your breathing and yourself. And that's part of fly. So a lot of my things are going to be centered around that. And then also I would say the affirmations, because again, that was about me. That was not really that I appreciate other things. I appreciate the day. I appreciate the fact that I get to take another breath. It's more about focusing in on myself, which was not an easy thing for me to do. So as much as I love all those other things as well, but those two probably kind of coordinate with that fly for me.
Yeah, I love that. And you know, it's funny, we were just looking through some old journals. We were reorganizing after going to my mom's house to reorganize her stuff. We were like, "Oh my gosh, we cannot be
Yes.
like that in 50 years." So,
Yes.
so looking through some stuff, looking through the journal, I opened a journal to January 10th of 2010.
Mm.
And in the journal it says, "I am a best-selling author."
Oh,
Well, what's really interesting about that is the book didn't even come out until October 13th of 2010.
wow.
But I was affirming that I was a best-selling author
Yes.
for 10 months before it became a reality.
Right.
And you're exactly right, is the power of the affirmation is that, you know, that pulls that powerful human being out of us that already exists. It just needs to manifest itself. So
It is.
fly is
Absolutely.
one. So
Yes.
what is the second strategy or concept that really hit home for you?
So I have to still, even though it's number two, it kind of coordinates with fly. And I started high level coaching, and I am coaching with one of your coaches. I coach with Tommy with an H, and Tommy enhanced fly for me. He through the coaching, he's encouraged me to embrace this change. I'm not saying I'm not good with change, because I'm pretty good with change. I like to keep things current and all of that, but not as an internal, not as for me. And so he helped in embrace evolution, and which is what my theme for 2021 is that it's embracing who I'm going to evolve into be by focusing on me. And so not only from the coaching am I able to enhance me, but I'm able to implement so much more of what 7L has to offer that fits what's best in my world. So those are the things that I'm working on, creating those things. I joke a little bit because I say that those 11 months, that if I would have embraced 7L during those 11 months that I hadn't sold anything back when I started in 2010, and it took me that long, I was soaring after that. It's almost like I went from infancy to running a marathon, and I never learned how to crawl. And so I'm taking it a little bit back to building some of those basics in my business, like crawling, and putting those things into the place so that I can continue to enhance 7L in my business and in my personal life. I think 7L coordinates with your personal life as well.
It's one and the same in my opinion. I
Yeah.
mean, who doesn't want to build their life on love, generosity, and appreciation? You know,
Agreed.
so hopefully it aligns with how you grow your business. So that, I mean, what last question that I've got here is
Yeah.
like, what's your favorite 7L strategy that you've put into place over the last couple of years, and you know what kind of difference has that made for your business?
So I'm going to have to say events. And so although I have not had another event since 2019, I did not have one in 2020. My Thanksgiving Pie Day is and then my next one that's scheduled. And in 2019, my office did Pie Day, and the president of my company is a good friend of mine, and she asked me if I was going to do it. And I said, no, no, no. Because see, I'm one of those people who thinks they can do it better than what that is, whereas you need to just
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
Which actually just do it is what's on my board, because from one of your podcasts or daily doses, I did that, and it's up there right next to it. And I actually pulled it down because the other thing that it's next to that I get a lot of inspiration from is this that you had done with for Max.
that's right.
And I get that that's what it was for, but let's be honest, it's for any age. It doesn't matter.
Yep.
And so my pie event, she told me to do it. So I had a little JPEG made, and I literally sat around and texted all my clients and said, what kind do you want? I was literally doing it 10 days before the event. And without any planning, I think I sent it out to about 70 people. And I gave away 59 pies
Wow.
on that first event. And people came, and it was at my office, and I would say not one other agent in my office did more than 10. And so my clients were there. My office did hot dogs and cider, and I added chips, a whole bunch of other stuff to it. But I would say that because that was probably that thing, and it inspired me to want to continue to do. When you have that kind of success,
Yeah.
you want to continue that. And my mom had just passed away last year, within a few weeks prior, and my husband was in the hospital. So I didn't do it last year, even though I'd ordered the pies. So I had high hopes. I ordered 150, and I ended up donating all 150 of them to a church. So,
Wow.
yeah. So I would say events, because
Yeah.
I think that probably, handwritten notes are awesome. There's so many awesome things, but I would say the events that are what, and especially now that after we've gone through what we have with the pandemic, I think events are going to be even more important to foster relations. I think we as human beings are craving wanting a relationship, and to be with, definitely we're wanting that. And so I think that that's going to be an even more powerful thing. So that is the thing that I've found the most success, and that I'm going to probably be focusing on the most.
Yeah, I love that. And also, what's interesting that maybe a lot of people don't make the connection with is first love yourself, growing yourself also fits really well with the events, because we don't say you need to do an I love you latte, or you got to do a National Donut Day pickup party, or you got to do a pie day or whatever.
Yes.
We tell you you need to have an event for your community, for your people,
Right.
for your database,
Mm-hmm.
for the people you know. Make it yours. Make it
Yes.
whatever it is. We had Neil Smith on recently that talked about he really couldn't get a virtual event going because
Mm-hmm.
everybody that was doing theirs it was for them. And then he
Yeah.
came up with an idea that was his for him, where he had a chef and he had a cooking party with wine suggestions, and people participated from their home. It was a smashing success,
Wow.
right? So that's it. First, love yourself, right?
Right.
And then matching that with events. Make these
Yes.
events right? Make them, how you want to tweak them and make them happen. And so that it is amazing how those two go together. And that's where really your growth has occurred in the last couple of years. I do have to put a plug in for eventmasteryclass.com.
Yes.
We are doing that right now, literally. So check into eventmasteryclass.com. I'm hoping it's not too late when this airs, but please check that out. And literally what I'm doing in Event Mastery Class, and it is me, I'm teaching this class live, is I'm going to take you step by step every week for 7 weeks for you to do your pie pickup party. So you'll be doing a Thanksgiving pie for your database. We'll show you exactly how to do it. We'll show you some things not to do. And we'll make sure that even in the most COVID restricted states, you're going to be able to do a pie pickup party. We call it the assembly line of love.
Mm-hmm.
And people will just come in and come out. They don't even have to get out of their car if you don't want to. So I'm going to show everybody how to do that in Event Mastery Class. And then also she showed the 25 growth affirmations that I did it for Max, but
Mm-hmm.
that will be a download for today's episode that you'll be able to get from Referrals Podcast. And final words of wisdom, Cynthia, for somebody who's listening to this, that's heard your story, they want to take some action. What action should they take? What kind of words of wisdom would you share with them?
So I think I would say that whatever your one thing is that you can take from Michael Maher, from 7L, from Referco, whatever one thing, do it really well, and do it consistently. And I think that that's probably the biggest lesson for me, is that I thought I could do all of them. I thought, oh, well, it's just handwritten notes. How hard is that? Oh, it's just having an event. How hard is that? Oh, it's just this. How hard is that? Just, 30 mornings. How hard are all these things? Just do it. And then nothing got done very well. Nothing got done consistently. Oh, I'll get back to that next week. Before I knew it, next week was 3 months down the road. So pick one thing, do it really well, and then pick the next thing.
I couldn't have said it better, and straight out of you into everybody's mind, I hope. And Cynthia, I just really, really appreciate your being a guest here today on Referrals Podcast. Thank you.
I'm just unbelievably grateful for you and for Referco. Truly saved and changed my life. Yes, I allowed it, but it truly has made a difference in who I am, and I'm unbelievably grateful. So thank you so much.
I love it. Appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, this has been, hey, listen, what is Referrals Podcast all about? It's real people, real stories, real referrals. That's what we talked about today. I implore every one of you that's listening to this, maybe you haven't done it before, maybe you haven't heard the invitation before, but you are invited to join the generosity generation. Join, Join, Gen, GENGEN.com. That is right now our free. It is a private group. You'll have to answer some questions, but you are invited to join us at joingengen.com. We hope that you come across. Also, please rate and review Referrals Podcast. We really appreciate that when that happens. We will see you next time next week on Referrals Podcast. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you.